Welcome to the 2021 public performance of the Rochelle Township High School Regional Speech Team. Typically, we would be in the library for this performance, and you would be able to see all of the different students performing their different events. Obviously, this year that was not a possibility, but we definitely did not want you to miss out on some of the spectacular performances we had. We had a great year, a phenomenal year, and I really want you to be able to enjoy some of the performances that your children, grandchildren, friends, colleagues did perform this year. With that thought in mind, we are going to have all 14 events. I hope you can watch all of them because they're definitely worth it. We're going to start with our dramatic duet acting, and that's Ariel Zurcher, one of our seniors, and Jen Heinrich, one of our juniors. They were sectional finalists in DDA this year. Please enjoy.
Welcome, Frau Angelica. I'm Frau Directorin.
Guten Tag.
Now then, I see both you and your husband train at the hospital St. Martin's.
Yeah.
Among the foremost, I knew several staff members that train there. Dr. Bronman, Dr. Mueller, but they're not there anymore, I don't think.
St. Martin's was a wonderful place to train. My husband and I, we met there.
Oh, and your boy was born there. No, I see Karnheim Eternity, also top of the list.
Yes, it was.
Well, look, about Hans, the doctors have done an x-ray and they have found here a permanent damage to the left hip joint. The cause of the limp.
So maybe a little correction can be done? Special shoes, a brace. When they're ready, we'll come back.
Well, they say the damage is permanent.
But it's just a little limp. Millions of people have little limps.
I'm so sorry, Frau Angelica, but I'm afraid the orthopedic and internist report says the hip is destined to degenerate. Probable prognosis, limp becoming more severe, crutches, wheelchair, bedridden.
It's a mistake.
They do say probable, but for now, a permanently handicapped child with slurred speech and hearing loss, noted by our best psychiatrists and psychological tests, together with the confirmation of mental disability.
Oh, not Hans. He's extremely smart. He speaks very quickly. He is so smart. Maybe this is what they mistake for slurred and mental disability.
A hard dose to swallow, but we all must trust our new psychiatrist and all the latest theories. After Hitler became the leader of the Third Reich in World War II Germany, many new programs, policies, and institutions went into action.
A young wife and mother, herself a nurse, Angelica, brings her toddler son to a clinic for the mentally and physically handicapped because he appears to have a small limp.
After meeting with Frau Directorin, director of the clinic who faces moral and ethical issues with the new policies, but fears for her family and her job, both women find it difficult to sleep.
All through the night.
By Shirley Lauro.
I'll take Hans to another clinic. A second opinion.
This distinguished clinic is the one to which you referred, Frau Angelica, and Hans' papers are filed here. It will make trouble.
We'll file in Berlin. The best doctors of all are in Berlin.
But don't you see? It's official. It's given its official birth record. Look, our doctors have all reached the same conclusion. Admittance as an inmate of this...
Inmate?
Resident, then? Look, our doctors have instituted visitation every Sunday. Stay all day, bring a picnic, play in the garden.
Hans? Hans?
Everyone is specially trained here, with all the latest in techniques to deal with children like Hans.
Where is my son?
I beg you, don't risk this. Then there may well develop a question of your legitimacy as a parent. Don't you see?
No, I don't see. Hansi? Hansi!
Don't risk this. Please. Should you question the diagnosis here, you will be deemed unpatriotic, flirting with treason.
Treason?
You are aware German citizens have limited choices. Allegiance to the flag, the Führer, the Reich. To choose anything else is to be a traitor, guilty of treason.
I am a loyal German. My family's been here hundreds of years. My father died in the First War. My husband's already a doctor with the Wehrmacht. It's insane to think I could be a traitor.
but both you and your husband's medical backgrounds could be easily turned against you.
What?
The state may well ask how you two, of all people, could deny your child medical care at birth, and to now deny him care here, at the foremost clinic of its kind in the Third Reich.
My medical background is why I want another clinic's opinion.
They take him away, and you're even giving them grounds to take away your nursing credentials, and grounds for extreme neglect, a child abuse case.
Abuse?
The regime may choose to assign more loyal guardians.
What are you telling me?
That the Reich may decide to give the child a more wholesome German upbringing, while they incarcerate you as an enemy of the state.
What's going on here all of a sudden? I was a nurse in hospitals. I know what it should be like here. And my husband and I, we have rights. We are his parents.
I'm seeing this happen to many parents besides you now.
I only want what's best for him. Don't you see that?
And what is best is often so painful to do. Now, for all of us, Stein, I'm able to offer him admittance at once if you do. Then we'll speak again Sunday, a few days only. I promise, Frau Angelica, I will do my utmost for Hans and you.
I think everything is going well. I stay all day Sundays. Hans seems happy, and Frau Angelica ordered him a special pair of shoes, handmade from Berlin. So months are passing in this way, except one Sunday when she goes,
"Oh, Frau Angelica, I was just looking for you. I'm so sorry, Frau Angelica, but I'm afraid they've had to put your son in isolation."
"What?
They say the liver is not completely systematic.
Liver? He's a very healthy boy."
I thought so too, but they diagnosed him with jaundice. These things do sudden fast, you know, with children. Dr. Reinstedt suspects hepatitis, highly contagious. They've already ordered quarantine. Once visitations are possible, I'll inform you immediately.
"I want to see my son."
The guards are making rounds. If anybody saw you, you were by yourself. Go.
"Hansi? Hansi, I'm here to take care of you." Oh my God. Roses. Straitjacket. Face yellow. Oh God, they've hit him.
Angelica, the SS has taken total command now.
What do you mean?
The hepatitis was a sham. The Nazi doctors gave Hans 3 red crosses when they first examined him.
3 red crosses?
Incurable, euthanasia, a clubfoot. There's no state money to support useless life, they say. Old people, mentally disturbed, disabled.
What?
The only value they see in Hans? Force poison down him. Experimental drugs for the military, to see how much the organs can take before he's dead. They've shown me statistics, graphs. They say he's a useless eater. He and those like him are already heavily burning the state. It will only grow worse, and we must help build the greater Germany now, Fraulein. Use our resources to care for the healthy, those who can help the cause of the fatherland.
My God, my baby! They're savages!
I do what I can. I help mothers get their children out.
But Germany's his country!
Side door's not locked. Go. Hide by the river. At 6, they're at dinner. Then run. Take the first train that comes. Go.
He's choking blood. Limp. Blue. Eyes rolling back. He's gone.
Our second performance this evening is going to be Faith Worthington doing informative speaking. Informative speaking is where the student finds a topic that they would like to inform the audience about. There's no solution they're looking at, it's simply informing. Faith was a state qualifier in informative speaking. Faith is one of our seniors this year. Please enjoy.
The blend of coffee that I buy smells exactly like the kind my grandma used to make. Now, whenever I make a cup of joe, I'm reminded of summer sleepovers spent at her house, full of snuggles, movies, late night ice cream, and pancakes that she made while drinking that rich, aromatic cup of coffee. This is nostalgia, the feeling that has the power to influence, inform, and manipulate. Nostalgia is a funny thing. Girls on Pinterest love writing about it. The film industry uses it to draw us back to the theaters for yet another Toy Story. And fashion brands use it to convince us that bucket hats really are cute. Especially now, with so many people longing for their good old days of normalcy, deeply rooted feelings of nostalgia are even more prevalent. So, let's reminisce on the history of nostalgia-related research. Recall how our senses can actually trigger this feeling and reevaluate whether nostalgia benefits us or not. You've probably experienced nostalgia, but have you stopped to consider what this term means or where it originated? In 2014, author and psychologist Neil Burton defined nostalgia as a sentimentality for the past, typically a longing for a period or place with positive associations. While the modern definition of nostalgia is warm and fuzzy, this vantage point doesn't align with its history or its connotations. The term was coined in 1688 by Swiss medical student Johannes Hofer. Hofer created the word nostalgia by combining two Greek words, nostos, meaning homecoming, and algos, meaning pain. Doctors during this time typically grouped nostalgia with other stigmatized mental illnesses, such as paranoia, melancholy, and depression. But nostalgia isn't just feeling depressed or homesick. In a 2019 interview, licensed psychiatrist and professor Christine Batchko stated that there are actually two kinds of nostalgia: historical and personal. Historical nostalgia revolves around a longing for a familiar period or place when life overall was good. For my uncle, this is the 60s, when smoking and sexism were in. Personal nostalgia is, well, personal. Batchko tells us that this kind of nostalgia revolves around a desire for a familiar feeling, relationship, or routine. While the past and present views of nostalgia are conflicting, almost all scientists can agree on what triggers this feeling. Imagine you're in 5th grade, you just woke up to a snow day, and your mom's not so homemade, but still okay cinnamon rolls baking in the oven. You're in your One Direction t-shirt. Okay, that last part might only be applicable to me. Believe it or not, Pitbull's smash hit, Feel This Moment, featuring Christina Aguilera, reminds me of snow days. You probably have similar memories, as a 2011 study done by Cornell University tells us music and specific sounds are some of our brain's strongest triggers for nostalgia. In 2017, author and scientist Christian McFadden surveyed a wide range of adults to compile a list of the most nostalgia-inducing sounds. Among this list were the god-awful sound of a Windows 90s desktop computer, the sweet siren song of dial-up internet, and, for some of you, the clack of a typewriter. These are all sounds that adults around the world view as nostalgic. So sound is immensely powerful in triggering this feeling, but so is smell. According to Rochester University, our olfactory system, the part of our body that helps us smell, is directly linked to our brain's limbic system. Within our limbic system lies the hippocampus, which is responsible for regulating our behavior, controlling our emotions, and recalling memories. So the next time you smell that zesty mango shampoo you used in middle school, you'll be able to recognize that your nostalgia is actually being produced by multiple systems deep within your brain. It's evident that a wide variety of things can trigger our nostalgia. But is this feeling beneficial to us? Were the 1700s doctors correct in classifying nostalgia as a mental illness? The answer is yes. And yes. According to research from the psychology department at Le Moyne University, when we reminisce on times of unconditional love and fulfillment in our past, we tend to feel more fulfilled in our present. So, it's not wrong to say that nostalgia can comfort us. But it's also true that it can be extremely detrimental. In a 2017 Psychology Today article, we read that nostalgia tends to become one of our biggest forms of self-deception. It causes us to remember all of the positive aspects of our past and forget the negative. It's like looking at an old family photo. You see the happy smiles, the questionable early 2000s fashion choices, but you forget that your mom was yelling at you right before the picture was taken, or that your parents got into a fight on the way home, or that you stained your brand new shirt with chocolate milk. Now, this nostalgic self-deception isn't just detrimental to our personal view of the past. Politicians love using our brain's hazy view of reality to their advantage. They promise us that they'll make America great again, evoking memories of what seemed to be our golden days, full of family, prosperity, and stability. But without the rose-colored tint of nostalgia, we tend to forget the racism, sexism, and political corruption that were running rampant during these times. Today, we've discussed a variety of opinions on nostalgia, from past and present, and many of these scientific observations are difficult to decipher. Luckily, the things that trigger this feeling, our senses, are not. So, the next time you're able to safely visit a movie theater to watch Toy Story 5, Woody and Buzz Take Out a Mortgage, you'll be able to recognize that warm, fuzzy feeling as nostalgia. This feeling that we get when thinking about the past is quite possibly just as complicated as the past itself.
Our third event is prose reading. Prose is where the student finds a cutting from a play, a script, a short story, etc., and they're going to be reading it to you. Our regional competitor this year in prose was Layla Peelan, and she was a regional champion and sectional qualifier.
It's my first morning of high school. I have 7 new notebooks, a skirt I hate, and a stomach ache. There is no point in looking for my ex-friends. The kids behind me laugh, so I turn around. It's Rachel. Rachel Bruin, my ex-best friend. This was the girl who suffered through brownies with me, who understood about my parents. If there's anyone in the entire galaxy I am dying to tell what really happened, it's Rachel. Her eyes meet mine for a second. I hate you, she whispers. After surviving a horrific experience at a party, Melinda starts high school with her friends against her, her classmates suspicious, and her spirit fearful. She finds solace in her art as she finds her voice and learns to speak, by Lori Holtz Anderson. Mr. Freeman is ugly, but he turns and smiles at us as we file into class. Welcome to the only class that will teach you how to survive. Welcome to art. You will spend the term learning how to turn an object into a piece of art. By the end of the term, you must figure out how to make your object say something, express an emotion, speak. Melinda, your object is a tree. Okay. I ran into Rachel and her new, cooler friends the next week. They were blocking my locker. I stand awkwardly waiting for her to move. One of her new friends taps me on the shoulder. Aren't you the girl who called the cops at Kyle Rogers' party at the end of summer? My brother got arrested at that party. I can't believe you did that. Idiot. My throat squeezes shut as if 2 hands are clamped on my windpipe. I grab my supplies and I walk quickly to Art, my head down. I can't figure out how to make my tree look real. I can see it in my head. An oak tree with thousands of leaves reaching to the sun. But when I try to carve it, it looks like a dead tree. I can't bring it to life. I'd love to give it up. Quit. After art, I walked as slowly as possible to the cafeteria. Big mistake. The only seat that's open is at the table where Rachel and her new posse is sitting at one end. I sit at the other, as far away from them as possible. Siobhan pokes Rachel and looks at the door. It's him! Andy Evans just walked in, and I think he's looking for you, Rachel. I turn around. They are talking about it. Andy Evans. Fact, he's gorgeous. Fact, he's rich. Fact, he's just the itziest bit dangerous, and he called me last night. It feels like the Prince of Darkness has swept his cloak over the table. I shiver. Andy stands behind me to flirt with Rachel. The other girls scooch toward Rachel to soak up her attractiveness rays. Andy twirls my ponytail in his fingers. Rachel's eyes narrow. I mumble something idiotic and I run for the bathroom. I heave into the toilet. On exiting the stall, writing on the stall wall catches my eye. Guys to stay away from. Andy Evans. He's a creep. Stay away. Call the cops. What's the name of the drug they give perverts so they can't get up? He should get it every morning in his orange juice. I went out with him to the movies. He tried to get his hands on my pants during the previews. There's more. Different pens, different handwriting, conversations between some writers. I must talk to Rachel. I find Rachel in the library. She looks at me without expression. Homework? I say. Kind of. So, you're really going out with him? With Andy. I heard about prom. He is just so awesome and gorgeous and yummy. She stops. She is talking to the village leper. Before I can continue the conversation, the librarian pounces. We can continue our conversation here or in the principal's office. I take out my notebook and I write to Rachel. Are you still mad at me? No, I guess not. It was a long time ago. The party was a little wild, but it was dumb to call the cops. We could have just left. I didn't call the cops to break up the party. I called them because some guy raped me. I was stupid and drunk and I didn't know what was happening. And then he hurt raped me. When the police came, everyone was screaming, and I was just too scared, so I cut through some backyards and walked home. Oh my gosh! Did you get pregnant? Did he have a disease? Are you okay? Who did it? I turned the page. Andy Evans. You liar! Rachel stumbles out of her chair and she grabs her books off the tables. I watch her go. I go to the only place that I can go. I need to go. Art. My tree needs something. I draw little birds without thinking. Water drops onto the paper and the birds bloom into the light, their feathers expanding promise. It happened. No running away or flying or burying or hiding. Andy Evans raped me in August when I was drunk and too young to know what was going on. It wasn't my fault, and I am not going to let it kill me. I can grow. Mr. Freeman comes to my table and hands me a box of tissues. You've been through a lot, haven't you? I feel the frozen stillness melt down through the inside of me. Words float up. Let me tell you about it.
Our fourth performance today, original comedy, Ava Colonese. Ava is one of our seniors. Original comedy is just what it sounds like. It's an original work where she has come up with the premise, everything, the characters, etc. And she has written this 8-minute short story, basically, for you. It's one of the more difficult events, in my opinion, because there's nothing more difficult than trying to be funny. Ava did a great job. She was a state qualifier in original comedy this year. Please enjoy.
Ladies, gentlemen, distinguished guests, welcome to I Was Most Eligible. I am, of course, your beloved host, Michael Raffone, but my friends just call me Mike. We are here today in the scenic town of, somewhere in Iowa, and it is time to meet our dashing, eligible young man. Let's give a warm welcome to Craig Manley. Hi everyone, I'm Craig Manley. I enjoy fishing, looking at trucks, and eating saltine crackers. Straight out of the sleeve. Well, Craig, let's see if any of our contestants can fit your bill. Let's give a good old American welcome to our first contestant. Coming to us from Venus, we have our Aquarius moon, Willow Knoll. Willow is looking for an air sign because she doesn't mess with Scorpios. Willow enjoys almond milk, wide leg pants, and wearing broken-in chacos. Specifically the ones with the toe loop. Let's check in with Willow backstage. Salutations, I'm Willow Knoll. When I found out that this year's contestant was a Sagittarius, I just knew it was written in the stars. I can't wait to show Craig the wonders of almond milking. Introducing the all-American girl you'd want to bring home to mom, Lucy Smith. Lucy enjoys laughing at jokes, even if she doesn't understand why they're funny, and being blonde. Lucy is a former political science major at Illinois State University. Go Redbirds! Hi, my name is Lucy, and I'm from Bloomington Normal, and I'm in this to win this. I'm not above going Tanya Harding on these other girls. I can't wait to meet Craig. Hopefully there's fireworks. Finally, our last contestant is Rachel Patterson. Rachel enjoys... funny story. I'm not Rachel. I'm actually Anna. My Uber driver was supposed to take me to Cedar Rapids, but I got dropped off here instead, and then they drove away before I could say anything, so, yeah, they're 100% getting a 1-star review, but I guess I'm Rachel now, so that's cool. Okay, all of these dates will be captured by our esteemed cameraman, Roger. Roger is a regular jack of all trades, but doesn't actually talk enough for us to figure out what he's good at. Say hi, Roger. Great. Now the only thing left to do is let the dating begin. May the odds, roses, be ever in your favor. All right, our first date is with Miss Willow, and they decided to go hiking. Let's see how it's going. How long have we been walking?
20 miles, give or take. I figured we'd start small. Say, Craig, you're breathing really heavily. Are you feeling okay? I think something might be wrong with your chakras.
My chalkboards?
No, here, let me unblock that for you.
Wait, no. Willow, what are you doing with that rock?
Unblocking your heart chakra, obviously.
Whew. Thanks, Roger. Mike was right. You were so much more than a cameraman. Our next date is with Rachel, and it is a simple dinner at one of Craig's favorite spots. So, what do you think?
Oh, it's great. I've always wanted to go on a date at the intersection of a Stop and Go and a Casey's. The general store vibe really gets me. You know, Culver's isn't a thing in Virginia. You won't believe this place. They bring the food right to your table. But enough about me. Tell me about you.
Oh, well, as you know, my name is Rachel because that's what my parents named me. And I'm from Maryland? Maryland, because that's where I was born, probably. And I have hobbies. So many hobbies. And interests, too. Not to mention pastimes. Oh, would you look at that? Our food's here. Oh, it is. Hey, check it out. This is how I christen every basket of cheese curds. Wow, thanks, man. You were just full of surprises. Let's catch up with Craig's next date, Lucy. After a quiet night in, things start heating up. And by things, I mean a literal fire. Let's check in with them. Roger. This has been real fun tonight. You know, watching Fight Club, eating boneless hot wings. Yeah, you know, I'm really feeling the fireworks between us. Did you say fireworks? I love fireworks. Wait till you see the stockpile I have in my garage. This is why Iowa is so much better than Illinois, because you don't even have to smuggle them over the Wisconsin border. I didn't mean actual fireworks. It's 6 p.m. on a Tuesday. It's literally not even dark out yet. Let the fireworks begin. Why isn't this working? I don't know a lot about fireworks, but I'd say it's because your lighter isn't working. See, it's just going... Nah, it's not that. I'll get some gas and light that on fire. Shouldn't you point that away from the garage? No. My man cave is in there. Wait. What's this? Roger. Roger, you saved my man cave. You're so strong. After a turbulent final date, it's time for the rose. Before I give this rose, I'll explain why I'm sending each of you home. First, Willow, we're just not compatible, which I'm sure you've seen in the stars already. I hope you figure out your chakra alignment. Okay, Rachel, who is apparently Anna, I'm not even that mad that you lied about who you were and then tearfully confessed that to me in a Culver's parking lot. I'm more mad you don't like cheese curds. So, I'll send and get you an Uber to take you to the right place. Actually, I think I'll stick to Lyft from now on. I'd say it was a pleasure meeting you, but it really wasn't. Fair enough. And finally, Lucy. Oh my gosh, I can't believe that I won. Oh, I knew we had the most chemistry, and I just knew that we were going to. You're going home too. What? Yeah, don't take this the wrong way, but you're crazy. Like, actually crazy. Maybe consider running for Congress? Greg, you've dismissed all of the contestants. Who are you going to give the rose to? Well, it only seems fit that I give this rose to Roger. Roger, you were the only one through this whole nightmare that actually seemed to care about me. Not my star sign or my taste in fast food. You cared about me. So, what do you say? That's a wrap.
Our next performance is radio speaking. Radio speaking this year was done by Megan Therebomb. Megan is one of our seniors. She was a state qualifier in radio, and radio is just what you think it would be. She's given a script, and then she is given 45 minutes, she's given material, and then she has to make her script from that material. It needs to be from 4 minutes 50 seconds to 5 minutes 5 seconds. If it is not within that time limit, that's the first problem, where she would be moved to last in the round. So hitting that time was very, very important. More importantly, however, you also have picking out the important stories, enunciation, making sure it all makes sense. Literally, she had 45 minutes to put it together, and then she's going to perform it right there. Radio speaking, Megan Therebomb, who was a state qualifier in this event.
Prison for extremist journalist spyware attack, Pep Boys lawsuit. Good morning. This is Megan Therebomb from WCTB with your daily update of news, sports, and weather. Today's broadcast is brought to you by Brightworks Dentistry. Looking to international headlines, a German court sentenced a right-wing extremist to life in prison for his attack on a synagogue on Yom Kippur. Stefan Bailey posted a screed against Jews before trying to shoot his way into the synagogue on the eastern city of Hale. He was convicted of 2 counts of murder, 66 accounts of attempted murder, bodily harm, and incitement. Moving to the Middle East, dozens of journalists at Al Jazeera have been targeted by advanced spyware in an attack linked to Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates. Malware infected the personal phones of 36 journalists, producers, anchors, and executives at Al Jazeera. The malware instructed the phones to upload their content, turning journalists' iPhones into powerful surveillance tools. Shifting to the U.S., an auto parts chain has agreed to pay nearly $4 million to settle an environmental lawsuit filed in California. Pep Boys will pay $3.7 million to settle claims after it illegally disposed of used motor oil and other hazardous waste. Regulators inspected 19 facilities and found hazardous waste in their dumpsters. Python could soon be on the menu in Florida. The state's Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission and Department of Health are running a study to find out if the amount of mercury found in pythons is safe to eat. Officials say it would be helpful for people to eat the snakes to help control the python outbreak in the Everglades. Moving to Illinois, U.S. Representative Rodney Davis says he is the target of fraud through the Illinois Department of Employment Security. Davis said someone was trying to fraudulently apply for unemployment using his name. Davis has also exchanged contentious tweets with the IDES, appealing to push for congressional action to protect Illinois unemployment benefits. A 3-foot water main burst early this morning on Chicago's north side. The break caused thousands of gallons of gushing water to spill into the street, crumbling pavement and turning a major road into a small lake. Police closed off a several square block area, and the Chicago Transit Authority briefly shut down as water poured into a 25-foot hole. Chicago versus Philadelphia, and chilly weather ahead. But first, a word from our sponsor. Are you stressed or anxious about going to the dentist? Your teeth could be getting damaged while you put off the trip. Don't wait. Call Brightworks Dentistry in Almington. Dr. Pellick and her caring staff will make you feel comfortable. And with the option of sedation dentistry, all the work can be done in one visit with no pain. Let Brightworks Dentistry give you your confidence back. Call Brightworks Dentistry at 309-863-7630 or visit them on the web at brightersmile.com. Brightworks Dentistry of Almington. They'll give you a reason to smile. And now for sports and weather. Dribbling to the NBA. The Chicago Bulls defeated Philadelphia 89-81, while New York outpaced Indiana in overtime 98-96. Skating to the NHL, the Chicago Blackhawks took a cool victory over St. Louis 4-1, while Ottawa decimated Atlanta 8-1. Here's your WCTB weather forecast. Today, cloudy with a few flurries central Illinois and south. Highs in the lower 30s to 40. Tonight, partial clearing, lows from 10 to 15 northwest to the middle 20s southeast. Tomorrow, cloudy with a chance of light snow statewide. Highs from middle 20s to middle 30s. And tomorrow night, bring out your parkas, folks, because it's mostly cloudy, lows near 0 to the lower 20s. This has been Megan Therebomb, and the time is 9:45 a.m. Thank you for today's sponsor, Brightworks Dentistry. They'll give you a reason to smile. Be sure to tune in tomorrow and have a great rest of your day.
Our next event is poetry reading. Poetry for our regional team was done by Ariel Zurcher this year. Ariel's one of our seniors. She was a sectional qualifier in poetry. And as you're listening to her poetry, please understand she has put this cutting together. And what she did, she went through and found many different poems that all fell within the same theme, and she just threaded that together to make the cutting that she wanted to perform in poetry reading. Please enjoy.
Small towns can be nice, quiet places to live. Last winter, a truck driver got stuck in the ditch near my parents' house. My father invited him in for coffee and to use our phone. Last summer, my parents' church donated half of every Sunday offering to the local food shelf. People from small towns will help anybody. As long as you're a white, cisgender, heterosexual male. Dear queer young girl, you don't want them to see you, so you change the pronouns in your love poems to him. Small Towns by Ali Schminke and Wyatt Fleckenstein, Labels by Wyatt Fleckenstein, I Do by Andrea Gibson, and Dear Straight People by Denise Froman. Explore the themes of queer identity and self-discovery in less than friendly environments. Dear queer young girl, I see you. The program. So I walk into the Walmart in my hometown and I see people staring. And not just a little, they stare like I'm giving birth in aisle 5. I tell myself they're just jealous of how attractive I am. Or maybe I've got something in my teeth, like their stares are totally explainable, everything is fine. The first time I came out to my mother, all I needed to tell her is that I'm not straight. Straight is a word she understands, and not straight is just something other than that. My relationship with my mother is more important than any label, so I couldn't risk confusing her. This just isn't a conversation small towns know the words for. My mother was the first female pastor in the town of Mauston, Wisconsin. Every Sunday, she preaches to a church of less than 200. In this town, queer is still an excuse. I am not safe being myself here. Dear straight people, you're the reason we stay in the closet. You're the reason we even have a closet. I don't like closets. But you made the living room an unshared space, and now I feel like a guest in my own house. I came out to my mother a year after I realized I could never be happy in this town. I was so afraid for her to see I was choosing honesty over safety. I'm still afraid she thinks I made the wrong choice. She tells me she dreams my death every night. She tells me, wear a dress to church. Don't talk about your girlfriend. Just pretend like you belong here. But I can't do those things. Even if I cover my tattoos and don't speak up in public, I can't hide who I am. She is trying to learn what queer means. I tell her for me, it's mostly about the people I'm attracted to, but it's a complicated identity. I say don't assume it's the same for everyone. Dear straight people, when did you realize you were straight? Who taught you? Did it happen because your parents are divorced? Did it happen because your parents are not divorced? Did it happen because you snooped too much glue in 5th grade? Dear straight people, why do I have to prove my love is authentic? Why do I have to prove my love is authentic? Why do I have to prove my love is authentic? You'd say, this kind of love has to be a verb. From the beginning, living in towns that frowned at our hand-holding, folding up their stares like hate notes into our pockets so we could pretend they weren't there. You'd say, fear is only a verb if you let it be. Don't you dare let go of my hand. That was my favorite line. That and the time we saw 2 boys kissing on the streets of Kansas. And we both broke down crying because it was Kansas. And what are the chances of seeing anything but corn in Kansas? Dear straight people, kissing my girlfriend in public without looking to see who is around is a luxury I do not fully have yet. My mother has accepted that she won't always get it right, but she's still trying. She no longer uses gendered pronouns for God, even in her sermons. She gave me a Bible that uses human instead of man. My mother might always flinch when I use the word queer, but I know it's not because of me. For her, that word is less my identity and more target, more reason to lock the doors at night, more reason to pray that I come home from work alive. So if it's easier for her to just think of me as not straight, then fine. She thinks I'll be safer if we don't use that word. I don't blame her for wanting to be a little less afraid. Small towns are supposed to be nice, quiet places to live, good places to raise families. I tell my parents I want them to meet my girlfriend, to meet my partners, but I would not do it here. I would rather my girlfriend and my parents be strangers on my wedding day than introduce her to this Judas cradle, this Iron Maiden, this town that I'm supposed to call home. It feels more like torture. This town raised me to be nice and quiet, to sit back, shut up, to assimilate. This town raised me to only cheer for the team we knew would win anyway. To only accept those who already fit in, to find comfort in church pews, those perfect, identical rows. But I was not raised to love everything that was the same. I was just raised to hate everything different. I didn't realize I was being raised to hate myself. Now, every trapdoor, every pore of my heart is open because of you, because of us. So I do want to be in that room with you. When visiting hours are for family members only, I want to know they'll let me in. But in the only email I ever saved from my mother, she tells me, I will love you however you need me to love you. And I believe her, even if neither of us knows what that looks like yet.
Our next event is Oratory. The person who did Oratory for Rochelle for the regional team was Morgan Haas, one of our seniors. Oratory is basically where the student is going to research a topic, where it is very much so you're going to explain the topic, you're going to talk about it, and then you have a solution for that topic. It's a very research-based event as well as persuasive. That's really what you're working for here. She was a sectional finalist in Oratory this year. Please enjoy.
So I was having my weekly breakdown, as every teenager does, when my mom decided this was the week she was going to comfort me. So she came over to me while I was having my regularly scheduled crisis, and she said, "Don't worry about it. Everything's gonna be okay." I started crying harder. At that moment, what I wanted was not to be told that everything was going to be okay. I wanted my emotions to be validated. I needed permission to express my feelings. Unfortunately, I don't see this behavior just from my mom. What my mom was exhibiting, called toxic positivity, is everywhere, and it's a problem. So today, let's define toxic positivity, examine its effects on our lifestyles, and find new ways to be positive, just without the toxicity. The term toxic positivity is not new. Dr. Jamie Long and Samara Quintero, psychologists in Fort Lauderdale, define it in 2019 as the excessive and ineffective overgeneralization of a happy and optimistic state across all situations. This positivity becomes a problem when we don't allow ourselves to accept the fact that some situations are hard, and negative emotions can be our honest and needed reaction. At its core, toxic positivity is an avoidance strategy. We avoid wanting to look like we can't handle our problems. Most of us want to be seen as capable, competent individuals who are happy with their lives. According to Stephanie Preston, professor of psychology at the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor, she said in 2018 that happiness is an attractive trait to us because it makes people seem more well-adapted and popular with their peers, characteristics we want to embody. Toxic positivity is all over social media, spreading messages like, "Positive vibes only," or "Look on the bright side." It could be your friend telling you, "It's okay you gained weight during quarantine because all of you is special," when all you want to do is complain that none of your pants fit anymore. With toxic positivity, these negative emotions are seen as inherently bad, when in reality, it's denying the authenticity of human emotions that rob us of ourselves. And any negative emotion can turn into toxic positivity. A death, failing 3 tests in a row, yes, even a global pandemic. When we deal with our negative emotions with toxic positivity, we are assuring that those bad feelings are pushed down, away from the world, and our true reaction is not allowed to surface. There are many negative effects that can result from toxic positivity. Dr. Jamie Zuckerman, a clinical psychologist in Pennsylvania, said in 2019 that one of the greatest effects is shame. Most of us don't want to be seen as bad or a drag, so when we have to make a choice between being honest and brave with our emotions or pretending that everything is okay, we tend to lean towards the latter. Author and researcher Brené Brown says in several of her books, presentations, and interviews that the energy source of shame is silence and judgment. In other words, where there's hiding, secrets, and denial, shame is usually in the driver's seat. Another effect of suppressing our emotions is more stress. Several psychological studies at UW-Madison show that hiding or denying feelings can lead to increased stress on the body and more difficulty avoiding the distressing thoughts and feelings. Suppressed emotions can lead to anxiety, depression, and can even manifest in physical illness. And finally, toxic positivity can lead to isolation and relational problems. According to Claire Gillespie in 2017, author of What Toxic Positivity Is and Why It's Dangerous, in denying our true feelings, we begin to live inauthentically with ourselves and with the world. We lose connection with ourselves, making it difficult for people to connect and relate to us. They say the relationship you have with yourself is often reflected in the relationship you have with others. So if you can't be honest about your own feelings, how will you ever be able to hold space for someone expressing real feelings in your presence? There are several negative effects that can result from toxic positivity, but overall, the process results in the denial, minimization, and invalidation of the authentic human emotional experience. But lucky for us, there are ways we can remove toxic positivity from our lives. And according to psychologist Simone Scully in 2020, there are 4 steps we can take. The first step is to avoid hiding or ignoring your feelings. Acknowledging how you feel is hard, and I know that. But it's actually helpful, especially in the long run. In fact, a brain imaging study at UCLA in 2018 showed that putting feelings into words can actually help reduce the intensity of emotions such as sadness, anger, and pain. This could be through talking to someone, like friends, family member, or a therapist, or through writing it down, like in a journal. What matters is that you're getting your feelings out. The second step is to learn to listen and validate how others feel. Everyone is entitled to their own emotions, so it's important not to shame people for having feelings. It's also important to consider that people might have different coping mechanisms than you, so maybe try to learn what they might need from you in tough situations. The third step is to take on a more realistic approach and see the truth in life. Allison Chu, author of Toxic Positivity, The Dark Side of Positive Vibes, said in 2020 that having a realistic view of the world lets you see things as they really are. This works by keeping your emotions out in the open and not setting impossibly high standards. And the last step is to learn to recognize toxic positivity. This works both ways. You know what to avoid saying, and you know when other people are using it. For example, instead of saying, "Don't worry, just be happy," you could say, "I see you're really stressed right now. Is there anything I can do to help?" Simple phrases like that can make all the difference. So by taking these 4 steps, you can make your life genuine again, and without the toxicity. So after looking at what toxic positivity is, its effects on our lives, and how we can remove it, I hope you all understand a bit better why keeping toxic positivity with us can have a negative impact. Most of us want to be positive, but being toxic about it doesn't help anyone. In fact, our goal as humans shouldn't even be to be positive. It should be to be genuine and authentic with ourselves and with the world. So the next time your mom tries to comfort you on your weekly breakdown, you can say, "No, Mom, it's not okay." But saying that definitely is okay.
Our next event is Humorous Interpretation. For regionals, Paul Schwartz was our entry in HI. HI is where you have a play, and then the student is going to perform that play, including all the different parts. So as Paul does this, you're going to see a variety of different characters, different voices, different postures. This was the first year Paul did this event. He was a sectional finalist in Humorous Interpretation. Please enjoy.
Sunday, Sunday, Sunday! It's extreme! The battle you've all been waiting for. Snow White versus Sleeping Beauty in a mud wrestling death match. Who's the toughest of them all? With dwarf tossing afterwards. The brothers Grimm were brothers named Grimm. They are dead. But in the period before they died, they collected 209 fairy tales and stories, and contrary to popular belief, did not write any of them. They were frauds. We should dig up their graves and spit on their corpses. However, several of these stories have become immortalized in film and television and are extremely popular to this day. In order to return these stories to their original glory, I present to you The Brothers Grimm Spectacular-thon by Don Zelitis. Once upon a time, there was a girl whose mother died in childbirth, who was abandoned by her father, who could spin straw into gold, and made a deal with the series of elves if they would help him make some shoes. There was also a talking fox in there somewhere. And the girl was beautiful, because no one cares about ugly people. And she was poor. Oh, I am poor. Dirt poor. She couldn't even afford dirt. If only I knew where my father was, who could spin straw into gold and make deals with the elves, and was also acquainted with a talking fox. Excuse me, but I couldn't help overhear your tale of misery and woe. Tell you what, I will grant you your heart's desire if you give me one small thing in return. That sounds like a great bargain. I won't even ask what the small thing is, because I'm so innocent and trusting. Excellent. I vanish. What a nice lady. Hey there, hot stuff. Oh, wait, that's me. Are you a prince? Of darkness? Oh, that's a good one. I gotta tell that one to the demons back home. Anyway, I overheard your tale of misery and woe, and I'm here to help. Well, actually, I just signed this one small contract. And you shall conceive a daughter so beautiful the very earth will want to kiss her. But in a platonic way, nothing kinky. That sounds like a great idea. Moo, My, what a busy street. Hello there. You're hideous and deformed. I have a great bargain for you. My stomach recoils in horror as you approach. Yes, I know that, but why has God's creation been so perverted? Look, do you want to hear my offer or not? Sure. You're probably trustworthy, and I'm stupid, and don't know to judge people by their appearances. I shall make you rich, 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 I tell you, beyond your wildest dreams. Can I have my own jet fighter? With Tom Cruise in it? When he was 23 and not into all of the strange stuff? He was still into that stuff. He just wasn't advertising it. Anyway, I shall make you rich, rich, rich. Not so rich that you can afford that jet fighter, but rich enough. And they only ask for one small thing in return. Sounds good. Don't you want to know what the small thing is? No, I trust you. Very well. It was a good day for the girl. She fell in love with the prince. Hey, you're hot. I am hot. Let's get married. Score. She grew very rich. Hey, a giant pot of gold just fell out of the sky. What are the odds? Ha-ha, score. And she conceived a child. Oh, it's so beautiful. And the child grew into a beautiful young woman, Rapunzel. Young woman, are you going to wear your hair like that? Shut up! Darling, we're going to have dinner, so wash your hands. You can't tell me what to do. Don't talk to your mother that way. She sold her soul to the devil just to have you. I don't care. I didn't ask to be born. I'm going to go out with the Frog Prince. I'm not going to listen to this. I'm going to go play golf instead. We're going to run away together and have little tadpoles, and just then I have returned. Your time is up. You know, I was just passing through the neighborhood, and I was thinking, I think I forgot something like 18 years ago. And then I was like, oh yeah, I was supposed to go get that thing from that girl. And then here I was, right at your house. I mean, that's pretty cool, right? Fine. What do you want? Your child. Your child. Your child! What? My deal was first. I mean, I'm the devil. Well, there wouldn't even be a child if I wasn't there providing mood music that night. Stop! Mom? What? How many deals did you make? Just 3. And I may have promised your hand in marriage to a talking rabbit, but it was dark and... What? I needed the money and the prince and the baby. Well, really, just the money and the baby. I can't believe you. I hate you. Why do you think I'm in counseling? You've ruined my entire life. Oh, come on now, don't be so melodramatic. So now you go with the devil. Thank you. Told you I had the prior claim. Or the evil witch lady, or the freaky ugly dwarf guy. Oh, if you guess my name, I will set you free from... It's Rumpelstiltskin. Rumpelstiltskin? Ah, dang it! And the little man stomped his foot so hard, the earth cracked beneath his feet. And when he tried to pull himself out, he broke in half. Ah! Ew! I am not cleaning that up. Now that that horrid little man is gone, I will take Rapunzel. I'm the devil. So, Lord of Darkness, all that. I think I have a bit more claim to this girl than some witch, enchantress, whatever, witch. And as the two began to circle each other, Rapunzel saw their opportunity. Now's the time, Mom. Let's run. Quiet, honey. I'm watching this. Go, devil. Mom, I just like him better. I curse you. Well, I curse you right back. You know what? This is stupid. Tell you what. You sign this one small contract, and you can keep Rapunzel. Sounds like a deal. Moo, ah, ah, and I disappear in a cloud of brimstone. Whoosh! Well, come along, Rapunzel. Where are we going? I built this great tower for you. Run along, dear. But, Mom, I don't want to go with the evil enchantress. Yeah, and I didn't want to raise a spoiled little brat. But sometimes we don't get what we want. Unless you make a deal with the devil and a few other people. See ya. And so the enchantress took Rapunzel to a tall tower with no stairs or door. As for the girl and her prince, I'm back from my golfing trip. What'd I miss? Well, the forces of darkness battle it out for our daughter's soul. Cool. You want to go to Hawaii? Rock on. And most of them lived happily ever after.
Our next event is extemporaneous speaking. Megan Therebomb, who, yes, if you're remembering correctly, did radio speaking, she also did extemporaneous speaking. Extemporaneous speaking is where the student receives a question. They then have 30 minutes to put together their response to that question. They do have the internet, they do have files available to them, but they need to have a strong base of knowledge before they even start, because they are putting together a 7-minute response to that question. It's very detail-oriented, it's a very stressful event, and it needs someone who understands what's going on in the world, someone who understands how to put together an answer quickly. Megan was a state qualifier in both radio and extemp. Please enjoy.
As we roll in the new year with the Biden administration, hopefully we will change our America from a dumpster fire at the back of a Wendy's to potentially a more productive future for the next generation. But through this, Biden has already taken action through executive orders. As said by the New York Times as of February 2nd, 2021, it shows how we initially had an average of 30 executive orders per year per president, until Trump came in with his 55 per year, and then switched off to Biden through the first week after his inauguration, providing us with over 30 executive orders for the American public. And whether you are Republican, Democratic, or anything in between, we can both agree that executive orders do potential change on American society. This brings us to today's topic of discussion, which is, should American presidents rely on executive orders to instate their political agenda? And the answer is actually an unequivocal yes. We can see this through 3 key topics of discussion. The first being how we are taking a potential time change and putting a swifter policy change between Republican, Democratic, and vice versa. Second, we are bypassing the congressional gridlock. And finally, we can put a precedence on America rather than focusing on other policies. So first, we move into how we are taking a swift policy change from each president to the next. As said by the Wall Street Journal, as of January 15th, 2021, it shows how President Trump actually revoked an Obama-era executive order in which he is increasing the amount of infrastructure built through a decrease of time that takes to bypass their bills and policy changes. And through this, we are building a better America faster, now that Trump has instated this through an executive order. In the same article, it mentions how Trump actually increased the amount of security within the United States that Obama initially did not want for America. But this argument is not just limited to the Republican Party. It is also including the Democratic executive orders through Joe Biden. As said by the AP News articles from January 28, 2021, Joe Biden took executive orders to halt President Trump's wall and to reinstate the no Muslim travel ban, in which he is allowing people to now freely travel more productively through the US-Mexico border, and also allowing more Muslims to travel in our country, creating a more fulfilled sense of freedom for America as a whole. And in addition, it also mentions how Biden also revoked the building of the Keystone XL pipeline, providing us with a brighter future and potentially greener future, in which he has blocked an immense amount of money from going down the drain, or rather, the pipeline. But through these executive orders, it is important to talk about our next topic, which is bypassing the congressional gridlock. As said by The Conversation as of January 17th, 2021, it shows how there is an extreme congressional gridlock, especially now through the polarization of Republicans and Democrats in Congress today. And unfortunately, because there is a congressional gridlock, it is taking forever to get anything done in Congress and for the United States, whether it's an increase of one party's opinion versus the other, or an overall change. As said by the Heritage Foundation from January 7th, 2021, it shows how these are actually based on political ideologies, and through executive orders, we are able to bypass this congressional gridlock and instate more change productively for the future of America. We are also bypassing the filibusters that occur in Congress that take only 60 votes from our Congress to create a filibuster that stops any movement of government from occurring. And through this, we see how executive orders are a positive light in our government today. But finally, we must step into the world of putting America first as a precedent for our near future. It says from the National Review from January 29th, 2021, how Trump actually created 1,000 points of change for illegal immigration and slashed illegal immigration by 50% within his presidential term. And this shows how he is providing the United States with a better future with less potential danger through illegal immigration. But again, this is not just limited to President Donald Trump. This is also transitioning into Joe Biden, in which he enacted executive orders that, as said by the Washington Post by February 3rd of 2021, that Biden decided to rejoin the Paris Climate Accords and also rejoin the HWO, and instated change within America and around the world. Through the Paris Climate Accords, Joe Biden was able to provide the world with a greener future by creating a better plan for America to go ahead and decrease the amount of carbon emissions. And through the HWO, Biden allowed us to move freely through the coronavirus pandemic, as we are now in, and potentially deliver more vaccines to the United States public. This brings us back to our topic of discussion, which is, should American presidents rely on executive orders to enact their political agenda? We've seen that this is an unequivocal yes, through first an easy and swift policy switch between Republican and Democratic, or vice versa, without taking the time to change between these policies and using instead executive orders to quickly change these ideals. Second, we've mentioned how we bypass the congressional gridlock in which we are bypassing filibusters, potential time taken to create more congressional rules, and changing these for the precedents of America, which leads us finally to creating a precedent for our near future, putting America first. From President Donald Trump's orders to President Biden's orders, we've seen how both of these people have created positive and productive change for America through their own political policies because of executive orders and their effect on America. So, as we roll in the new year with President Joe Biden at our helm, hopefully we will see a potential change and policy increase from Joe Biden to create not a dumpster fire at the back of Wendy's, but a more productive future for the next generation.
Dramatic interpretation is our next event. Michaela Preston was our DI for our regional team. Dramatic interpretation is similar to humorous interpretation on one hand because she's going to be portraying a character as she does this. Humorous interpretation usually is multiple characters where you're looking for that technique and that going back and forth. Dramatic interpretation is more usually one character that the person is going to be performing, and you're watching to see how that character is built as well as how they've edited their script to make sense of the scene that you're going to see. Michaela did a beautiful job. She was a sectional qualifier in dramatic interpretation. Enjoy.
Man, it's getting cold out there, isn't it? Hey, fix me up with a coffee, could you? Warm up a little, you know what I mean? That's no good for you. Walking around out there dressed like I am in this weather. I mean, it isn't cold yet, but it's getting there. And I'm not gonna be dressed any warmer in another month when it comes. Kid like me. That's no good for you, you know. With alcohol, you're not so bad, you know, because it's in your bloodstream and all. But with horse like I take, man, you gotta watch out, because you don't know so cold. And first thing you know, you're sick as hell, man. and about all I need is to go into a hospital or someplace like that and let them start looking me over, you know what I mean? Yeah, that's about all I need. What is it, about October? About the middle of October, huh? Damn. It'll be getting real cold before long, you know what I mean? Fick is all alone. And with loneliness come many problems. Depression, paranoia, and an addiction to heroin. What she wants most of all is companionship. And with companionship come empathy, tranquility, and protection. As she speaks to the first person who has listened to her in weeks, she finds a new sense of hope and realizes that maybe, just maybe, this new relationship could be her personal Balm in Gilead by Lanford Wilson. You know what really gripes me? All the roaches just playing games on the floor up there. A roach's attitude just gripes the hell out of me. But what burns me? I've been reading up. Not recently, but I saw somewhere where not only was the roach the exact same damn roach that we know. Not only were they around about 2 million years before man, you know, before we came along. Anthropologists or whatever, geologists over in Egypt or someplace like that, looking for the first city, right? They dug down through one city and straight on down through another. You know, they piled up like a sandwich with like layers in a 7-layer cake. So they cut down through one century and straight on down through another, and the one before it, and in each one, they found more damn cockroaches than anything. And then they got before man ever existed, right? And like in the basement of the whole works, there those damn bugs still were. So they've been around, like I said, about 1 million years before we came along. But not only that, they've made tests. See,
and they found a roach can stand. If there was going to be some sort of big atom explosion, they can stand something like 14 times as much radio whatever it is, activity as we can. So after every man, woman, and child is wiped out and gone, like you imagine, those same damn cockroaches will still be crawling around, happy as you please, over the ruins of everything. Now the picture of that really gripes my ass. You didn't see it, but I tell you, they had me pinned, man, down in this whole thing. Not the roaches, but these 4 or 5 big black cats. Man, they must have been huge. Big, strong fellas, fighters. They pushed me into this doorway. Right into this door down the hall in a dark place there in the hall there. See, they thought I had a bottle on me. And I don't drink. And they didn't know I was high, and so they're standing over me. And they feel around and see that I don't got any money on me. I said, man, you think I walk around with money on me? I mean, look at me. Do I look like I carry money around with me? Of course I don't have any money on me. I get $4, I shoot it, man. That's all I can afford, about $20 a day, man. Most days I don't even know where it came from because I'm high. I don't remember. I can't think. And then they start roughing me up and I say, man, you got the wrong person. Why don't you go rough up someone your own size? I mean, even if I was a big cat, see, I'm small. But even if I was a big cat, I wouldn't go roughing up people like that. They barely gave me hell and beat the tar out of me, and I just balled up and had to take it, because if I get up, they're gonna hit my face and all. And I just balled up and had to take it. No. Please don't go. Please, just listen to me now. Just listen to this. See, they're kicking me around. And I can't do nothing myself, right? But what I'm saying is, if I could get just a couple of guys, just a couple of buddies, and go back there. I mean, I was just walking down the street and they came up on me like they was important, right? And then they started pushing me around, and then they pushed me into this alley. Not an alley. No. But this hallway. And then they started punching at me, and I just fell into this ball on the floor so they couldn't hurt me or nothing. But if I came back there with a couple of guys, just a couple of buddies, it wouldn't have to be you or anything like that. But just a couple of 3 guys, like big guys, like walking down the street, just so they can see I got these buddies here. See, I'm on H. I mean, I'm flying. And I gotta talk now, but I'm serious. Just a couple of guys, and they leave me be maybe because they think I had these buddies that looked after me, because I mean, they're kicking me up, right? And I mean, man, if I wasn't on H, man, they'd be pains all through me, I mean, just walking down the street by myself. I mean, I start looking around, wondering who's out there gonna mess me up, because I mean. I get scared as hell, man. Walking down around here by myself. I mean, I can't protect myself in nothing, man. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? I mean, if I had just a couple of buddies, right? Just a couple of fellas, fighters, I mean, just walking down the street. I mean, if you had just a couple of buddies, right? Just walking down the street, there's like nothing, man. You could do. You could do anything. Man, it's getting cold out there, isn't it?
Our next event is oratorical declamation. Morgan Haas, who, yes, you've seen her earlier, she did oratory. Oratorical declamation is different, however. It's still one of our public speaking events, but it's not one where the students have written it themselves. This one is where Morgan found a script that she enjoyed, that she felt she could perform and really believe in. Because someone else has written the material, she has to become the narrator, basically, and you're going to see her perform those words. Morgan was a state qualifier in oratorical declamation.
A friend of mine was riding in a taxi the other day, and on the way she was chatting with the driver, and he said to her with total sincerity, "I can tell you are a really good person." And when my friend told me the story later, she said she couldn't believe how good it made her feel. Now, that may seem like a strong reaction from my friend to the words of a total stranger, but believe it or not, she's not alone. Most of us think that we're good people. I want to tell you that I'm a good person, and I think I am, but the reality is, sometimes our perception of ourselves gets in the way of us really becoming all that we can be. Sometimes for us to grow, we have to ask ourselves tough questions and put ourselves in tough positions. For us to grow, we have to learn how to let go of being a good person and become a better person, by Dolly Chu. I'm a social scientist. I study the psychology of good people, and research in my field says that many of us care deeply about feeling like a good person and being seen as a good person. Now, my definition of good person and your definition of good person, and even the taxi driver's definition of good person, might not be the same. But within whatever that definition is, that moral identity is important to many of us. But what if I told you this? What if I told you our attachment to being good people is actually getting in the way of us becoming better people? What if I told you our definition of good person is so narrow, it's scientifically impossible to meet? And what if I told you the path to becoming a better person starts with letting go of being a good person? So let me tell you a bit about how the human mind works. Research has shown that the brain relies on shortcuts to do a lot of its work. That means that most of the time, your mental processes are taking place outside of your awareness, like in low battery, low power mode in the back of your mind. In fact, some scientists estimate that at any given moment, 11 million pieces of information are coming into your brain, and only 40 of those are being processed consciously. 11 million, 40. Has this ever happened to you? Have you ever had a really busy day at school or work, and you drive home, get in the door, and realize you don't even remember driving home? Like, you might have ran a red light, but you just don't remember. You were on autopilot. This is the kind of moment that happens in a brain that can handle 11 million pieces of information coming in, with only 40 of those being processed consciously. But what happens when the brain is relying on shortcuts, and those shortcuts lead us astray? What happens when our mind gets bound up with bad information? Information we weren't even aware we're holding in our minds. One example of this occurring happens with unconscious bias. Unconscious bias refers to the associations we have in our brains, the shortcuts our minds use to organize information. This happens much of the time outside of our awareness and doesn't necessarily line up with our conscious beliefs. For example, researchers have collected data from millions of people and found that most Americans more quickly and easily associate white people with good things than black people with good things. And most men and women more quickly and easily associate men with science than women with science. These associations don't necessarily line up with what people consciously think. But again, sometimes those 11 million and 40 just don't add up. When we are put in situations where our unconscious bias becomes visible, we fight for our good person identity. We look for ways to assure ourselves that we are good people, and more importantly, that we're right in what we're thinking. Or so we think. Much of the time, nobody's challenging that identity, so we aren't pushed to think about the ethical implications of our decisions. And because we aren't pushed, we start to spiral more and more towards accepting our unconscious bias. Again and again. It's perhaps because we expect it to be easy. We have this definition of good person that's either or. Either you are a good person, or you're not. Either you have integrity, or you don't. Either you're racist, sexist, homophobic, or you're not. And in this either-or definition, there's no room to grow. When it comes to being a good person, we think it's just something we're supposed to know, supposed to do, without the benefit of effort or growth. But sometimes someone might challenge that identity, or upon reflection, we might challenge it ourselves. For many of us, that means we move towards more and more good person behavior. Or, to be more precise, behavior that makes us feel like a good person, which isn't necessarily the same. Through this process, we don't take into account how much our self-view as a good person is affecting our behavior. That we're working so hard to protect that good person identity, we're not actually giving ourselves space to learn from our mistakes and actually be better people. So what I've been thinking is, what if we were just to forget about being a good person? Let it go entirely, and instead set a higher standard. A higher standard of being a good-ish person. A good-ish person still absolutely makes mistakes. As a good-ish person, I'm making them all the time. But as a good-ish person, I'm trying to learn from them, own them. I expect them and I go after them. I understand that there are costs to these mistakes. When it comes to issues like ethics, bias, diversity, inclusion, there are real costs to real people. And I understand that. In fact, as a good-ish person, I become better at noticing my own mistakes. I don't wait for people to point them out. I practice finding them. And as a result, sure, it can be embarrassing. It can be uncomfortable. But through all the vulnerability, just like in everything else we've ever tried to get better at, we see progress. We see growth. We allow ourselves to get better. If we could get ourselves to start questioning what we believe and why, not just accepting information, but actually confronting some of our closely held beliefs, think about how we could open our minds and our hearts. What a gift we would be giving ourselves. The ability to become better people. And why wouldn't we give ourselves that? In every other aspect of our lives, we give ourselves room to grow, except in this very human, very internal part of us, where it matters the very most.
Our next event is Special Occasion Speaking, which is one of the most lifelike events in the realm of speech. Special Occasion Speaking is where the student gets to make the audience whomever they want to be, and then they're performing for that audience. Our SOS this year was Ava Colanese, one of our seniors, and yes, you do remember that she already performed OC. Ava is one of our funny people. She's also a beautiful writer and did a great job putting this together. She was looking for a specific event, a specific audience, and you get to hear her special occasion speech.
I'm sorry. I don't think I was ready. Ooh, okay. I'm so sorry. Should I restart? No. Okay. Hi. I'm Ava, and I'm here today to talk to you all in my anxiety support group about a problem most of us share. And if my rocky start was any indication, I think you probably know what it is. Folks, we apologize way too much. I mean, just last week when Dave was telling us about that test he bombed, there was a chorus of apologies. Guys, we didn't fail that test for him. So why did we feel like we had to say sorry? The answer isn't as simple as you might think. So let's bump into some causes of over-apologizing, knock over some indicators and effects, and finally, spill some solutions to our over-apologizing problem. So what actually constitutes over-apologizing, and why do we do it? Dr. Julia Breens defines over-apologizing as when we apologize for something that is clearly not our fault, not in our control, or otherwise unworthy of apology. Examples include apologizing for being hurt by someone else's offense, apologizing when someone else bumps into you, and apologizing for apologizing. Now, we are all guilty of this from time to time. I know that I am. Have you ever bumped into a table and apologized to the table? Yeah, Been there, but why do we actually do that? Well, research shows it can actually be influenced by your gender. Psychologist Harriet Lerner says, in all cultures studied in 2018, men apologized less frequently than women. Girls are more likely to be rewarded for focusing on the feelings of others, while boys are more likely to be rewarded for being assertive. While over-apologizing can just be a bad habit, it can also be indicative of a larger issue. According to psychotherapist Panthea Siddipur, for some, apologizing is a way to avoid conflict, especially if they grew up in a household where conflict sparked screaming matches or led to violence. Additionally, experts believe that mental disorders like ADHD, OCD, and anxiety can lead to becoming an over-apologizer, as they stem from being too hard on ourselves or beating ourselves up for things. While this is not always the case, it's important to realize when you or a loved one's behavior is becoming more of a ruling force in everyday life, and considering seeking help. In the wise words of comedian John Mulaney, you could pour soup in my lap, and I would probably apologize to you. But really, what are some indicators of over-apologizing, and how does it affect the people around us? The answer is a lot more than you might think. According to a 2017 article titled The Psychology of Over-Apologizing, over-apologizers tend to be anxious and worry about offending everyone around them. They also might view their relationships as fragile, to the point where one misstep could mean the end of them. Dr. Joel Young says, don't just throw out an apology if you're making a simple request or asking a question. And you don't need to be the one apologizing if the situation isn't your fault or is out of your control. If you feel the need to apologize in these situations, ask yourself why. And don't allow yourself to apologize when they're the ones that poured soup in your lap. But furthermore, apologizing too much can actually make it harder for us to effectively apologize when we really need to. When we constantly say, yeah, I'm sorry, seemingly for no good reason, it dilutes the power of those words, making us sound disingenuous. So, over-apologizing can actually undermine the message you're trying to convey. Sorry. I meant excuse me. With that, let's look at some solutions to our over-apologizing problem. Obviously, if your over-apologizing stems from some unresolved trauma or mental illness, it's important to seek professional help. Additionally, there are some solutions that we can all implement in our daily lives. The first thing to consider is whether or not your apology is even necessary. Some examples might include forgetting a friend's birthday, or spilling juice on someone, or accidentally hitting your sister with your 2015 Jeep Renegade. Accidentally. One way to eliminate your unnecessary apologies is to turn your sorries into thank yous. Instead of saying, I'm sorry I'm always late, say, thank you for waiting for me. But what should you do when you really do need to apologize? Thankfully, the Etiquette School of America gives us 7 easy steps for a sincere apology. Which is a lot of steps. So I simplified it down to 3. Step number 1, determine if your apology is actually necessary. If it is, step 2, let them know that you realize that you hurt them. Tell them how much you regret what you did and that you value their feelings. Be careful not to say anything along the lines of, well, if I hurt you, I'm sorry. If, and words like it, put the blame on the other person for feeling hurt instead of on the person who committed the offense. Finally, step 3. Let them know that your apology is a promise, that you won't do it again. Now, step 3 is crucial. Otherwise, what you've just offered isn't an apology. It's an excuse. Now, people are not obligated to forgive you. However, you are obligated to try and remedy the situation that you created. If you've ever seen a YouTuber apology video, and I know you have, you know they always miss this point. Using these 3 steps, we can make our necessary apologies more sincere and effective. So, today we defined over-apologizing and its root causes, looked at some indicators and effects, and finally, discussed solutions to implement in our daily lives. Hopefully, some of you have found some new ways to deal with this habit, and others are probably now just realizing that they are, in fact, an over-apologizer. Either way, I'm glad I could have started that conversation with you. Oh, it looks like I'm running out of time. I'm so sorry if I've kept any of you... No. Actually, I'm not sorry. Instead, I'd like to thank you all for your time. May you and I all one day be able to move through life sincerely, confidently, and of course, unapologetically.
We started with dramatic duet acting. The other side of the coin is humorous duet acting. And I didn't mention earlier, the duets this year, the students couldn't be in the same room when they performed. And as you can see, everything was done through Zoom, through our season this year. But for the duets, it really added a different level of technical difficulty that they had to work through. Our humorous duet acting pair, Michaela Preston and Paul Schwartz. And yes, Michaela was our DI, Paul was our HI. They are very, very strong in the acting events. And let me just say, I feel very good about the fact they're both sophomores. They did a great job at humorous duet acting. They were sectional qualifiers. Enjoy their performance.
Alice?
Oh, hey Marcus, I've been waiting.
There you are! Jesus!
Whoa!
Oh, man.
Well, sit down, I got us a table.
I don't get it, Alice. I don't understand it.
Well, do you need something? Do you need a...
No, don't even try. I don't know what's going on today, Alice. It's really weird.
What? Like...
Well, just for an example, I stopped off at a drugstore to buy some aspirin. This is at a big drugstore, right?
Yeah.
I go up to the counter, the guy says, "What can I do for you?" I say, "Give me a bottle of aspirin." He gives me this funny look, and then he says, "Oh, we don't have that, sir." I say, "You're at a drugstore, and you don't have any aspirin."
They have buffering?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just drink Tylenol.
Yes.
No aspirin.
No! And that's the kind of weird thing that's been happening to me all day. It's like I go to a newsstand to buy the Daily News, and the guy's never even heard of it.
Maybe it was a misunderstanding?
I asked every place. Nobody had the news. I had to read the Toronto Hairdresser. Or this, I go to a deli to buy a sandwich, and the guy tells me they don't have any pastrami. How can you be a deli if you have no pastrami?
Was this a Korean deli?
This was a kosher from Jerusalem deli. "Oh, we don't carry that, sir," he says to me. "Have some tongue." I just got into a cab, and the guy tells me he doesn't go to 56th Street. No, he offers to take me to Newark instead.
Mark, calm down.
"Oh, I don't go there, sir."
Calm down. Take a breath.
Do you know what this is?
Sure.
Marcus is having a bad day, an awful day. In fact, it's the worst day of his life.
Alice, on the other hand, has never been better.
No matter what Marcus tries to get or do, the opposite keeps happening to him. He's at the end of his rope.
But Alice knows what's going on. The problem isn't so much with what he's doing, or how he's doing it, but the problems Marcus keeps having all have to do with where he is, metaphysically speaking.
What does that even mean?
You'll see.
The Philadelphia.
By David Ives.
What is it? What is happening to me?
Don't panic, but you're in a Philadelphia.
I'm in a what?
You're in a Philadelphia, that's all.
But I'm in...
Yes. Physically, you're in New York. But metaphysically, you're in a Philadelphia.
I've never heard of this.
See, what we know of as reality, there are these pockets, these black holes called Philadelphias. When you fall into one, you run up against the exact kind of stuff you've been experiencing all day.
Why? I thought I was just having a really bad day.
I was inside of Philadelphia and never even knew it.
So what can I do? Should I just kill myself now and get it over with?
You try to kill yourself into Philadelphia, you're only gonna get hurt.
Well, what can I do?
Best thing you can do is wait it out. Someday the great cosmic train will whisk you out of the city of brotherly love and off to someplace happier.
You're pretty mellow today.
Yeah, well, everyone has to be someplace. Did I tell you I got fired?
You did?
Yeah, well, anyway, you have this problem.
Did you just say you got fired?
Yeah. What do I have in my order?
Alice, you loved your job.
Hey, no sweat.
How can you be so calm?
Easy. You're in Philadelphia. But I'm, my friend. I'm in Los Angeles. And life is beautiful. You know, Steve packed up and left me this
Steve left you?
Quite frankly, Scarlett, I don't give a damn. I say go and God bless, and may your dating pool be Olympic-sized.
So, this is a Los Angeles.
Everyone has to be someplace.
Wow.
You want my advice? Enjoy your Philadelphia. Sit back, relax, order yourself a beer, and chill out for a while.
But I can't order anything. Life is great for you out there in your cosmic beach, but whatever I ask for, I'll get a cheesesteak or something.
No! There's a very simple rule of thumb in Philadelphia. Ask for the opposite.
What?
If you can't get what you ask for, ask for the opposite and you'll get it. You want the Daily News? Ask for the Times. You want pastrami? Ask for tongue.
Oh.
So would you like a bud?
I sure could use a bud.
Stop. Would you like a bud?
No! I don't want a bud.
Good. Now, pretend I'm the waitress, right? Order yourself a bud, but do not ask for a bud.
Waitress!
Don't call me over, I won't come.
Oh.
You're in Philadelphia, so just forget about me.
Forget about you.
You do not need this waitress.
I don't need this waitress. Hey, waitress, get out of here.
Can I help you, sir? That's how you get service in Philadelphia. Can I help you?
No thanks.
Okay, what do you have?
Well, how about some OJ?
Sorry, squeeze is broken.
Glass of milk?
No straw.
Eggnog?
We're now.
Cup of coffee?
Oh, we don't have that, sir.
That's too bad. How about a Heineken?
Heineken, Troycan.
Rolling Rock?
At a stop.
Schlitz? Beck's?
Next.
Sapporo?
Mara.
Lone Star?
Buddy Haw.
Bud Light?
Sorry, just plain Bud's all we got.
No thanks.
Marcus! That was excellent. You sure you've never done that before?
I've spent so much of my life asking for the wrong thing without knowing it. Doing it on purpose comes easy. I could have saved myself a lot of trouble if I'd asked for the wrong thing on purpose all these years. Maybe I've been in Philadelphia all along and never even knew it.
You could have been in Baltimore. They're practically the same. Oh, my order's here. Thanks. They gave you a cheesesteak. You son of a... Come in here, Philadelphia!
I'm sorry, Alice.
Come in here, freaking Philadelphia!
I didn't know it was contagious.
Don't let me be in Philadelphia, please! Dear God, don't let me be in Philadelphia!
Oh, shouldn't you ask for the opposite? I mean, since you're in
Philadelphia.
Maybe you're not really in a
I
Philadelphia.
taught you everything you know about Philly, Mark. Don't tell me how to act in a Philadelphia!
But maybe you're not really in a Philadelphia.
Do you see the cheese on this steak? Yeah? What more do you need for proof? The freaking Liberty Bell! I lost my job. Steve left me. I gotta make some phone calls.
No. It's not that bad in Philadelphia. Everyone has to be someplace.
Our last event of the evening is impromptu speaking. Our impromptu speaker this year was Faith Worthington, and yes, you already have heard Faith give her informative speech where she was a state qualifier. She was a double state qualifier because she was also a qualifier at the state level in impromptu speaking. In impromptu speaking, the student walks in, is given a prompt, they have 2 minutes to put their thoughts together, and then they speak for 6 minutes. So it is truly impromptu speaking. There are no files, there are no notes, there's just the student's brain, and they have that 2 minutes to put some things together, and then they speak on that topic. Faith did a beautiful, beautiful job. As I said, she was a state qualifier. She is a woman of many words. Please enjoy Faith Worthington.
For my first ever job, I worked as a lifeguard. Now, normally, I'm terrible at conflict and run away from it. But I realized that as a lifeguard, you can't do this. You see, if you run away from conflict, you're not only going to go against the things that you believe in as a lifeguard, but little Timmy will sustain a serious head, neck, or back injury from trying to jump into the baby pool. Today, I compare my experience with lifeguarding and having to face up to conflict to today's prompt, fight or flight. In all of our lives, we're faced with issues, things that scare us and make us feel uncomfortable. And we can either choose to run away from those things and completely forget about them and feign ignorance, or we can choose to fight against them, to fight for what we believe in boldness and strength, even when it's scary and unknown. Today, let's learn how to choose to fight for the things that we believe in, even when it's scary, by looking at 3 key people who chose to fight and be bold, and see how in doing so, they were able to inspire others, create a change, and leave a legacy. First, let's discuss how when we choose boldness and we choose to fight for what we believe in, we'll be able to inspire others. We can look at Susanna M. Salter, America's first female mayor. Susanna was living in Kansas during the 1800s. She was the mother of 9 children, yet she still found time to be politically active. She was the president of the Women's Christian Temperance Union in her town. So, when the position for mayor became available, she decided to run. Many people in the town looked at this as wrong. Many of the men were threatened by her femininity and her ability to think that women could actually be equal with men and be involved in politics. They thought this was wrong, and many people were extremely hurtful to her, and some even threatened her life. But Susanna didn't back down from her pursuit. She decided to not run away, but to fight. She continued running for mayor, and she won with over 60% of the vote. And in doing this, she was able to inspire others. As we can see that even today, Susanna's boldness and ability to fight for female politics was something that will inspire us even now, with women running for various offices, both the local and national levels. Next, we can see how when we choose to fight for boldness rather than run away from things that make us afraid, we'll be able to create change. We can look at Alice Roosevelt, the daughter of Theodore Roosevelt, one of America's most famous presidents. Alice moved into the White House as a late teen, and all eyes were on her. People expected Alice to be the perfect president's daughter, but she simply wasn't. She was bold and spunky and had radical ideas in comparison to many other women in the day. She again also believed that people from different social classes didn't have to be seen as less than, that everybody deserved equality and respect. But people didn't like this. Alice was widely criticized both in tabloids and in national news networks. They saw her as someone who was too unstable and radical. But Alice didn't back down. She didn't stop being herself or fighting for what she believed in. She continued to be bold in her beliefs and who she was. And in doing this, she created a change. Girls across the country watched as Alice wasn't afraid to be herself, and they took and followed after her. Alice sparked a wave of young women deciding that they didn't have to stay home and cook to be considered female. Lastly, we can see how when we fight against the things that we believe in and stand bold in our beliefs instead of running away, we'll be able to leave a legacy. We can look at Betty Smith, the American author. Now, Betty Smith was living in New York during the 1900s. She was the daughter of 2 immigrants and came from an impoverished neighborhood. Many people looked down upon Betty, and she was very secluded from other kids her age. They didn't want to play with her. Instead, she found comfort in books. She read books about many girls, but none of the girls in those stories involved women like her, people from poverty or dark backgrounds. Betty made it her goal to write stories about real girls, and when she grew up, she started trying to publish these books. Many people rejected her writing. They saw it as garbage and something that was too depressing for children or adults to actually want to read. Instead of running away and giving up on her dream, even when people criticized it, Betty continued to fight for it. She continued to write books about girls who were real, even when no one wanted to publish them. Eventually, as she continued fighting for this, someone did publish it. They published her novel, A Tree Grows in Brooklyn, which eventually became a New York Times best-selling novel. In doing this, she fought for the novel that she wanted to see written. Not only that, but she left a legacy. Today, Betty is widely known for influencing literature in such a positive way, for causing people to think differently about the characters they were reading about, and thinking about how they too could write books about people like them. So today, we've looked at 3 key people. We saw how all of them, rather than running away from the things that scared them, chose to fight for what they believed in order to inspire others, create a change, and leave a legacy. The next time you're in a situation where you have to fight or flight, remember to fight, because someone else may gain a serious head, neck, or back injury.
I hope you enjoyed all the performances. We really, really enjoyed our year this year. We're so glad we were able to have a year in this bizarre year of COVID that it was. We weren't really sure how it was all going to play out, but I'm so glad you were able to watch some of the performances, and please know it was a pleasure to work with all of your students. Thank you.